Let's repot my Senecio Rowleyanus, more commonly known as a string of pearls. This plant is usually my kryptonite, but somehow I've kept this one alive for a few months. I have found that this plant has very specific requirements to thrive, so let's go through what I've been doing. Being a succulent, it of course needs very well draining soil. You can buy a cactus soil, which is what I have done, or you can make one of your own, making sure to include sand. This will help drain away any excess water, which is usually what causes this plant to die. Whilst we're on it, let's talk about watering needs. This plant has very low watering requirements and likes to dry out fully in between each soak. The pearls on this plant actually store the water, and you will notice they start to shrivel when it gets thirsty. They can survive long periods without water, so this is definitely one which is better to underwater than overwater. I've always been told that they have a shallow root system, but on repotting this one, I found that not to be the case. Being so, I think it is absolutely fine to only bottom water this plant. I find top watering is the #1 killer and also attracts pests like fungus gnats. Now I know I'm always preaching to use nursery pots, but this does not apply to cacti or succulents. For these plants, it's better to put them directly into a porous pot such as terracotta or unglazed ceramic. Succulents and cacti thrive in arid conditions and need pots that allow for fast drainage and aeration. Terracotta is a porous material, meaning both air and water can pass through it. This means if there is a buildup of water in the soil, it'll actually get absorbed into some of the pot. This is exactly what we want for the string of pearls. As terracotta can breathe, it means that you will also avoid root rot. Root rot usually happens when oxygen cannot get down into the roots. Let's move on to sunlight. The string of pearls can thrive in direct and indirect sunlight. Although they do like a sunnier spot, if they get too much direct sunlight at the hottest part of the day, their leaves can get scorched. I have also noticed that they can change color if they're getting too much sun. You may also lose some of your pearls and end up with a leggy looking plant. As always, for this repot, I've added a mesh round down the bottom. This stops soil from falling out the bottom, but still allows water to get through. As I repotted this to change from plastic to terracotta, I haven't gone too much bigger. I have added some extra cactus soil down the bottom and around the sides, and tried as best I could not to let any of the pearls get stuck inside. I'm now going to soak the plant and the terracotta pot, and you'll see what I mean when I say it's really absorbent. You can see the water get absorbed by the terracotta pot as it changes color. This is such a good way to see how water gets absorbed up through your plant. You know, I love to bottom water, but often get questions of how high the water goes. And you can see here that you don't need to leave it too long for it to take effect. Whilst she's having a good old guzzle, let's talk about some common problems for the string of pearls. As I mentioned before, overwatering is usually the issue and causes root rot. If your pearls are shrinking, they may be underwatered or be getting too much sunlight. These plants can also be prone to some pests, including mealybugs. This is because mealybugs are like a drier environment, which is exactly what you've created. If you spot it early, you should just be able to pull them off though. If your plant has gone really leggy, it's also most likely lacking sunlight, or you may have bumped it. These pearls are pretty easy to knock off. Luckily, it's a very easy plant to propagate, and I've actually found keeping it in hydro often works better. To propagate this plant, you can just take cuttings from any of the strings, put these cuttings in water, and that's basically it. You don't need to worry too much about a node or anything, but try not to have any of the pearls down submerged in the water. And that's basically it. Just leave it in a warm, sunny spot like all propagations, and within a few weeks you should see roots start to grow. I found that this plant doesn't need any nutrients or rooting hormone to produce roots. You can either keep it growing in water if you like hydro plants like I do, or you can transfer it to soil. You can see here what the roots look like. If my sop starts to fail, I'm going to turn it into a hydro plant.